All right, everybody. This is another episode of First and Framerates. This is Virtual Footballer, and I have my co-host Bills. What's going on, man?
Yo, what's going on? Hope everybody had a good weekend and we got some big news for y'all.
Yeah, but before we get into that, I want to really say thanks to the Sim Standard and the Sim Standard podcast for letting me on this past week. If you haven't checked out that podcast, the link is down in the description. They really don't need no introduction, but the fact of the content that was in that podcast was really informative. It talked about subscription based games, which we didn't talk about this earlier, Bills, but I guess we could touch on that as well as the other news that we're going to talk about. But I want to get Bill's take on that, but it was a very informative podcast. Like I said, that link will be down in the description for you guys to check it out who have not checked it out. Also, we're going to talk about some NFL news, what happened in this past week as far as scores and highlights, whatever the case may be. We're going to give us our thoughts on that. And finally, the big news. A lot of people come to our channel and they get a straight basic podcast off, just something to listen to if you're at work, you're on the bus, you're driving home, whatever the case may be. What I'm going to do now, we're going to switch things over and do a different format. We're going to run to a live first and frame rates. We're going to start doing that starting next week. It's going to be next Tuesday. We're going to start doing first and frame rates live. It's going to be around 8:30. We haven't really come up with the time yet, but by the time the beginning of the week starts, you guys will know. More than likely, it's going to be 8 o'clock, maybe 8:30 because of our schedule. So we're leaning towards the 8 o'clock, but you never know. What are your thoughts about the live episodes we're going to start? What do you think about that?
Oh man, it's good. It gives us an opportunity to interact real time with a lot of the viewers, and they can even dish topics to us, during the course of the podcast, so that, if we're kind of low on topics, then we can go ahead and pick a topic or answer a question or, whatever they want us to do.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. We've always been talking about going live, but we just have not been able to do so. I just haven't been doing the research to do it, even though from what I see it's fairly easy. But on top of that, I wanted to be high quality when I do it. I don't want to just put out a live stream and have stuttering issues or other issues we may have between one another. It will be under Google Hangout, which, like I said, is fairly easy. But I just want to make sure it's good quality for you guys so we can get the direct feedback from you guys while we're doing our live content. On top of that, we're going to talk about mostly the usual stuff, the football, baseball, basketball, whatever the topics of the day or the week. Also, we're going to talk about some gaming. We always try to stay on point with those two aspects of the podcast. So definitely check us out. It's going to be starting next Tuesday, which is the 21st of November. Yeah, I think it's the 21st of November, where we're going to dwell into the live stream at 8 o'clock. It is subject to change to 8:30 at the latest. So we dropped those bombs out for everybody so they'll know, just to be looking forward to that. But like I said, we was going to go straight into the NFL talk, but since I just remembered about the subscription-based the subscription-based games that EA is starting to put out or thinking about putting out when it comes to sports titles. Bills, you came to me and you sent it to me over Twitter about it, that it was actually a reality. And I've been, talking about this for at least 3 years now. What was your initial reaction when you thought about it? When you saw it?
I mean, I like the idea. I love the idea. It's a situation where we'll have continuous development, much like NBA Live kind of already does. NBA Live has been updating hairstyles and things of that nature throughout the season, and also adding things that I won't say necessarily weren't in the game, but they might add player edit at some point down the road. So that's going to be an example of their subscription-based gaming The problem I think we will end up encountering is the price
Yeah.
and how that's going to work down the road because I know a lot of people are worried about that. But I'm interested to see how this turns out.
I think it's going to turn out fairly well. My only issue with it is, well, I have two issues. Like I said, the price. I mean, I was thinking somewhere along the lines of a five or $4.99 a month, and for 12 months, that's $60. That's a $60 game. Just like if you would do anything as far as buying a full game for a year. But I was thinking about with the service and the way it could be built and constructed. I'm sorry, constructed. I was also thinking maybe $5.99 or $6, because they have to recoup something for having the service out there to make a little bit of extra money. Now I don't have a problem with that per se because it doesn't seem too intrusive, and you're basically paying for convenience as well as productivity. And what I mean
Hmm.
by productivity is like I said on some standard podcast, you have where uh NBA Live, for instance, especially NBA Live 15, they did a great job of this. They updated the game through the back door. There was no like a patch update that you had to go through PlayStation. It was like you basically or Xbox. You put in the disc, and all of a sudden you see update 1 through 7, and
Hmm.
it tells you it did gameplay fixes, it did player model fixes, it did visual fixes, player likeness fixes. They did all this stuff in the back door. I was trying to figure out how were they able to do that, because when you put up a patch for PlayStation or Xbox, it costs money for them to go through and actually put the patch on the console. Now, maybe I was wrong. Maybe these were patches, but they did a damn good job of not showing it because it updated through the game. You didn't have to download. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have to download the patch and then install it. It just went
Right.
straight to the game. So Live did a great job of that. But if you're looking at the subscription based model, this is what you're going to be looking for. This is what I'm
Hmm.
looking forward to. I mean, it does it all the time on PC. I mean, they update their games all the time on PC, straight streamlined through, and it's such a convenience to everybody when it's done that way. And I
Right.
know Jaros, the guy who did our artwork, he knows a thing about it too, about updating full games that way, where you don't have to worry about necessarily having the same graphics or assets or same textures. That you can literally take some things out of a game and add the new stuff in on the fly in most games. And I know where in the article that was on the EA article that we talked about in the Sim Standard podcast, uh, they said they finally got it away where they have code to move things around. So that's basically what I was saying about how PC games update their games, or how NBA Live was doing theirs. It's
Hmm.
basically they move the game code around to accommodate the update. So um, I think it's a win-win. I think mostly for that aspect. The only two things I have issue is probably, like I said, the price and maybe the online aspect. And I'm not talking about like playing games online, because I'm a big proponent of not playing sports titles online. But I mean, I don't like that, but the downfall to the other side of the online aspect is the fact that the game will be always online because
Hmm.
it's a subscription based game. So therefore, you may be left out in the cold if your internet's not working, or you may just have to play an offline version, or maybe they will make an offline version so people can continue to buy. But at the end of the day, this this may be the end of physical copy sports titles. I don't see them probably not making a physical copy sports title unless it's still lucrative to make one. So, um,
Hmm.
I'm just curious about it, and I think it's going to be a win-win at the end of the day. Any final thoughts on it?
I mean,
I don't have any much more to say about it.
yeah, it's gonna be interesting because like I'm thinking about it from the aspect of okay, you download the game, but there might be a situation where now because it's a subscription based. game, the games might come out even more broken than before.
Yeah, but I can also say that
Condition.
I can also say the flip side to that. It may not, it may be like that initially, but at the end of the day, I don't think it will because they're going to continue to build on it, and therefore the fact they keep building on it, they cannot break something that's already there. Compared to having a
Yeah,
compared to having a yearly release, you kind of see what I'm saying?
yeah, I get it. But then I mean, you even have a situation where um, it's gonna be interesting to see how the gigabytes of space come into play because then you're gonna have patches on top of patches on top of patches on top of patches. If you're not getting a new game, you're not downloading a new game.
But
All
that,
of this saved data is gonna be overlapping each other.
yeah, but that also goes back to what I was saying about moving code around. There's some stuff that's going to be taken out and replaced with that, or it's just
Mm,
something just going to be taken out completely and never returned. So I mean, like I said, they do it on PC all the time. As far as the World of Warcrafts or the other MMOs that are out there that are constantly, they're years old, very popular games, and they continue to be updated, but you don't hear about them being like an 80 gig game
yeah, but
because
here's the situation you gotta think about though. Okay, let's say if they're taking things out and putting new things in. Let's say you have a franchise that you saved.
okay.
And let's say that that franchise, let's say because they moved on to the new year, but it's the same game, like that might be an issue.
That I can see where it could possibly be a compatibility issue
Yeah,
if they don't have the proper code in that could be concrete. Now,
right. Especially if there are mass wholesale changes to the game,
yeah,
you want to play your old franchise, but with the improvements to the game itself.
well, that's where they say where they can move code around. I hope that that particular code is just the bare code that runs the game. Because
Hmm.
if that's the case, if it's the bare code that runs the game, you have basically the game and everything else around it is updating, and that's where it needs to be. Because if it's
Hmm.
not like that, you're gonna have the game just being broken because they still have to add stuff into a game that's not really ready for the subscription based model. So I
Hmm.
totally get what you're saying, and that could be an issue. But based on the article, they said they're almost there to do that. So we're just gonna
Right.
have to wait and see. Because I know right now, based on what I've seen from at least live since live made a return, 14 to
Hmm.
18, you can tell that's the same code that's running that game.
Yeah.
You can tell that. I mean, they just built on it and they done a great job with it. But then
Live 18, as good as it was at launch, is steadily improving. If they could just fucking update Ben Simmons, Jesus fucking Christ.
well, that's a. But see, that's the thing. That's probably one of those code issues that if they add that code, it could probably damage the entire game.
Yeah, but I mean, how could
Oh
they
no, no.
update everybody else but not him?
Oh no, I get it. I get. Oh, you're talking about updating players. I thought you were talking about
Yeah,
custom.
like no, no,
I thought
like
you were talking about
update.
customization. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking
Yeah,
about customization.
like they can't just update his hair like they updated Jalen Brown. Like,
Right.
what the fuck?
Right. I see what you're saying. I thought you were talking about like
No,
player
no, no.
custom. Because I think player customization. I think that's the only reason why player customization is not in the game because the way that code is built, it would probably screw everything up if they did.
Yeah, because they had an issue with another NBA Live. I'm trying to remember. Oh, I think '08 you couldn't edit.
Yeah, yeah, '08 was like that, and to be honest with you, I could be wrong, but I saw a lot of Elite 11 and 14, but
Hmm.
I'm not sure if that same code is ran to 18 because it don't even look or feel like that. Now it does feel like 14 and 15. It's like you can tell they built the game from 14 up instead of 11 up. But like I said,
Hmm.
I'm not an expert. I could just go by based on me playing the game and how the game feels to me.
I'll say it feels completely different than 16. So I can't remember. I can't think of anything from 16 that's still there.
I'm just that that game was terrible, bro.
No, yeah. I mean, 18.
I'm
I said it
sorry,
on
man.
Twitter. I said it on Twitter, and it caused an uproar. I said that. I'm currently enjoying NBA Live 18 more than NBA 2K18. I'd say they were a better game. There was a better game, but I'm just
No,
enjoying
two.
Live
No,
18
I
a bit
agree.
better.
2K18 is overall the better game. There's no
Yeah.
doubt about that. But Live 18, we said this in our first impressions, and we knew when we were playing it, it was going to stick.
Mhm.
Live 18 is a very good game.
Oh
I
yeah.
actually contemplate on actually playing that over Live 10 for my franchise. The
Mm-hmm.
only problem is the customization.
Customization.
That is it. And I may end up still just getting it to run one and just forget about the customization because to me, I would feel like I'd be a hypocrite because I ran a franchise and I ran a franchise on NBA Live 15 which does not have customization. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, why can't I play Live 18? You see
Right.
what I'm saying?
I mean, 18 is one of them things where like they released the last update, and I was already enjoying the game, but now they put that update in. It seems like with each update, the game is just getting better and better, more smoother. They took out all those like I think the reason I stopped playing in the first place were those dumbass animations after every single shot, like the celebrations.
Uh
They
huh.
got annoying, and it was an eyesore for me. Now those are gone for the most part. I mean, they're still there, but like few and far between.
I
Like
never.
when they fit, they trigger, but
Right.
most times it's just a really good brand of basketball. The defense on ball is better than 2K.
No,
Um,
the on ball in 2K18 is really bad. I mean,
yeah, you can't you
the
can't
anime
stop anybody's momentum
it
heading towards the basket to the point
but
where it's like you have to hope your help defense is there.
it's not even that, Bills. It's like the animations play out. It looks nice. The
Yeah.
problem with it is you still have shifting, not shifting, but you still
Hmm.
have warping in the game where players go through
Yeah.
each other's bodies. It's like the eco motion thing that they have, which is a very nice feature, which I might add. You can tell that is in the very early stages of actually working. Because players' bodies shouldn't be going through each other's bodies. That's it's just
Uh,
it's like
it
they
wasn't like that last year.
but that's what I'm saying. But 17 didn't have that.
Yeah.
It didn't have it. But 17, I it was another person on Twitter was talking about how well that Live does its animations bump system where it
It's
bumps into it,
amazing.
and they were saying 2K18 was terrible. I was like, yeah, 2K18 has that stupid. That I ain't gonna say it's stupid, but they have the new system in it that really doesn't. It doesn't have any canned animations, and that's
Yeah,
really
because
that's the detriment to that the players going into each other. It's because of that.
yeah, because Live 18. I mean,
But when you flip the 2K17,
yeah.
they don't have that system, but the bump system is great where the physics and the body really they're respected in 17.
Yeah, because Live 18, you can actually stop somebody's momentum towards the basket. If they keep dribbling, you'll probably ride them out of bounds. In 2K18, they just buy you every time. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter
but
which
see,
angle they have, they can run straight at you, and there's not really much you could do about it. In 18, you really have to work to get around somebody.
it's a product of them using that new system, in which we've always wanted. But it's
Yeah,
like if you had to wait another year to put that in, wait
yeah,
another year. Don't let it be like the Infinity Engine where it was
right.
just it was horrible. Because I
Hmm.
see where they're going at. It's just not ready. Because I can understand if players going past each other, but to the detriment of players going through each other, that's the problem.
And it's sad because like their whole their whole statement about not having any locked in animations like at the basket and everything's great. The contact on the basket is great. It's just heading towards the basket.
Right.
They don't
They
have
don't have
any
it.
type of animation or body detection to cut
Right.
somebody off. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
And that's where it's an eyesore because it's too
Yeah.
many times I've seen players go through each other. And it's mostly like say it's from the waist up because that's where the
Mhm.
body contact comes. But I mean the animations are there. The
Yep.
concept is nice. Is they could have waited to 19 because it's not ready. And hopefully in 19 it'll be right because just because you take an extra year doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be okay. But
Shit, I mean, if we look at 519 and what may come, I mean, shit, man. I hope they add customization and some freelance
And
sets
they
to make
better
the
not. They
offense
better. I swear they
look.
better not take a step back like they did from 15
I
to
hope
16.
not,
If they
man.
take a
I'll be
step
on
back,
Live 18.
yeah. If they did a step back, like if they do a step back like they did from 15 to 16, I will be highly pissed. That is
I would
BS.
too, because this is a huge leap.
Yes, this is a huge leap this year, and it's fantastic. But we went from the subscription based to talking about NBA Live. I mean, we just pretty much made that an extra topic. So,
Yeah.
I think we're just going to pretty much close out the rest of this podcast about the previous or the following week or the
Mhm.
actual week of the NFL. Um, Nothing really surprised me. I will say my Falcons did surprise me, honestly. If there was anything to surprise me, because they played a damn good game. I know Tyron Smith was not in the game,
Mhm.
and that caused them to get Adrian Claiborne to get 6 sacks, a couple of fumbles.
Mhm.
I totally get it. I never really talked about it much on Twitter when the game was going on because I don't count that as the D line is getting better.
Right.
That's just an exploitation. What I was impressed with, the surprise for me was the way the offense actually played, especially after giving up that tipped interception in the beginning, because that tipped interception, drop pass interception was like typical for the Falcons this throughout this year.
Mhm.
And like it's like once those things happen, it's like the ceiling just falls in, and the Falcons end up losing the game. They sucked it up and turned around and played a fantastic football game on offense. Now, defense, I can't talk about the defense that much because the defense has actually played good all year. Those 6 sacks, that was an anomaly. You're not going to see that all the time.
Mhm.
So outside of that, and I'm looking at any other games, for the most part, basically status quo. Green Bay did get the win on Chicago, which I was surprised because Chicago has a running game that actually can run the ball pretty well. It just looked like nothing's going on there, and
Yo.
I think that's it for me. So you can go ahead and jump in. You can talk about what surprised you.
I'm sorry, but like I'm thinking back to like one of our first podcasts that we spoke about the NFL, and I said the Giants are going to be the loser of the year. Holy shit, are they making me look like a prophet right now?
Man, they let and you know what? I started to think about this. I really kind of wish we had Shanahan back, even though he blew the Super Bowl. But I like what Steve Sarkisian did this past week. He opened up the damn playbook and we dropped
Hmm.
27, and this is all what we've been asking before from week one.
Right.
But what I will say, Kyle Shanahan actually put a good game together against the Giants, and I mean he did good enough to beat the Giants because the team was pretty much abysmal. And I tip my hat to him for putting a good game plan together because the Giants could have won this game because San Francisco is technically a worse team, but they put it together for a good win. And like you
Man, the
said, the
Giants. Oh my
losers,
god,
absolutely, I think they're probably worse than Cleveland right now
they're worse
because
than Cleveland. They're worse than San Francisco now, as we can see.
yeah, because I mean, because Cleveland, with Cleveland, is kind of expected. Okay,
Yeah.
we know you guys may win one game. The Giants were in position to possibly win this division.
Yep.
So yeah, they're the losers, no doubt.
I'm
It's,
looking at. Let's see. The Colts played the Steelers pretty hard. Um, the
yeah, they did,
Steelers,
they did.
the Steelers ended up, absorbing that blow, and they ended up putting on a show towards the end. Um, the Saints blew out the Bills. The
Um,
Saints, man, are
I'm not,
really impressed.
I'm not
Impressive.
surprised that the Saints blew out the Bills, but I am surprised at how they did it. They had two 100-yard rushers in that
Mm-hmm.
game, and the Saints are known for passing the ball.
Yep.
So I am surprised at that, and the Saints do look good. I will admit that they look
Yeah.
very, very good, and I'm really curious to see what my Atlanta Falcons would do against them because
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta's very good against the run. They're
Right.
really good against the run, so I'm actually going to see if this is going to be another shootout between those two, like it always are. But the Saints do look good. I will definitely admit that.
And the Rams once again just plugging along.
That may be the surprise team of the year.
I agree.
That coach is going to get he should get coach of the year as well as of right now. And everybody can say, "Oh, the Eagles are doing this and doing that." Yeah, but the Eagles already had talent, and they just added talent. The
Mm-hmm.
Rams did nothing but get a new coach. You know,
Yep.
I think they got like one or two pieces, but they weren't like significant pieces. You look at it and be like, "Oh, okay." Because they got or they already had Kenny Britt. They got rid of somebody or added somebody, another receiver or something. I can't remember.
Samuel Watkins.
Yeah, they got Sammy Watkins. That's right. So even then, when you got Sammy Watkins, you're like, all right, Sammy Watkins like borderline washed up. We'll see what happens. And you know what I'm saying? And then all of a
Right.
sudden, it's like he's happy where he is. And for them to be 7-2, I'm actually really, really surprised at what they're doing. This is nice. You got Jared Goff. Everybody thought he was going to be a bust. This little dude threw 25 for 37 for 355, 3 touchdowns. Everybody can talk about Carson Wentz is doing this, that, and the third. I think Jared Goff is giving him a run for his money because I've seen too many times like when Carson Wentz do throw for 4 touchdowns, but he only has like 190, maybe 220 yards.
Yeah, that was the last game. He
Yeah,
basically just
you,
cashed in on what his defense
Yeah,
created and nothing.
and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just that when you're looking at a quarterback, you got that compared to what Jared Goff is doing. I mean, Jared Goff is putting up 300-yard games at least 3 or 4 times this year. So
Hmm.
it's like Jared Goff is probably like also the most improved player this year, hands down. I mean, right now he has 2385 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 4 picks. You know
Oh,
what I
by
mean?
the way, just another side note. Brett Hundley, shout out to him winning a division game on the road, taking Aaron Rodgers' spot.
See, that's what I was saying. I was like,
Uh,
that's like the biggest. That was another surprise for me because Chicago had a chance to really, do some damage to that team furthermore because of the fact that you had an inefficient quarterback on top of two good running backs. They just couldn't capitalize. It was a close game, but Brett Hundley did what he had to do. There's nothing wrong with that. That is just a good win for them. Um, I want to jump over here real quick and look at Jared Goff. Jared Goff threw for 300 yards 3 times
mhm.
so far this year, almost a
Yeah.
third time, almost a fifth time, 5 times. He threw for 288 against Seattle, and he threw for 292 against San Francisco. So it was almost 5 times he threw for over 300 yards. So
He doesn't have any, like crazy superstar targets to throw to either.
no, not at all, not at all. That's what I was saying.
I
Like
mean, Watkins is good, but Watkins isn't killing. He's not a franchise
he,
receiver.
he's not like the second year player he was when he
Yeah.
came in the second year of his, or the first year for that matter. So I think it's a really good look for Jared Goff. I mean, a lot of people wrote him off. Everybody thought he was going to be a bust, but we all know what that was all about. So I mean,
Right.
we're not going to talk about that coach or
Yeah, for sure.
non coach. That guy's terrible. Anything else that stands out for you for this week? Because
The Patriots putting up 41 on the Broncos in Denver, regardless of the fact Brock Osweiler is playing.
nah, but Brock Osweiler has nothing to do with that defense. That defense is too good to be giving up 41 points.
2 weeks in a row, they gave up 51 the week before that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like
So
that.
it's a
That's the
question, what
problem.
the hell is going on with that?
Yeah, because Brock's gonna be Brock. I mean, Brock confidence has been shot ever since Peyton Manning took his job at the end
You
of
know what?
the.
I think I know what happens.
What's
I
that?
told people this shit was gonna happen too. This is what happened. Derek Wolf was completely against the protests, and then they came out and said, "Oh, the whole team agrees that we're gonna stand and all that bullshit." I think that's what happened. I think there's some dissension in that locker room
I wouldn't be surprised.
because right after that happened, that's what I mean. The Broncos came out like a bat out of hell. I mean, they were killing teams and they were holding them to, you know, 7 points, 10 points, and they were dominating. And now, I mean, they can't stop a nosebleed.
Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. I mean, that's just like what I was saying about the Falcons. They don't have a dissension like that, but you have a defense that's playing very well. but your defense is going to break eventually when your offense just can't stay on the field. They need a rest. So it's two different type of situations, but you have two pretty good defenses. Just one has internal issue within the locker room possibly, and you just have another defense that just is winded. And I mean that's why you have to put a emphasis on defense. I mean
Mm-hmm.
New England's done it for years. Atlanta's been doing it for the past 3 years. You look at Minnesota's another team that nobody talks about.
Nope.
Nobody talks about Minnesota's defense. Their defense is really good. Um, I'm trying to think another. Pittsburgh always had a decent defense as well, but the past few years has been a little shaky. But it's all about holding having your defense talented when they're able to do what they're supposed to do and rested at the same time. You don't want them out on the field for a long time. If you can do that, that's almost just as good as having a good running game in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think at the end of the day, you may be onto something with that Denver defense dissension type thing because it's paramount to have a good defense. And in the coming weeks, I'm pretty sure it's going to come out,
Yeah.
about that situation. So uh, I think at the end of the day, the NFL, the product of the NFL, is actually starting to make a turn for the better. The beginning of the season was kind of distracted, and you
Mm-hmm.
saw it in the players. But even with the protests are still going on, it's kind of like they're they're kind of getting a little balance on how to deal with that and play some good football. Because overall, the quality on the field is starting to show, and it's starting to look pretty good now, and that's always a plus.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything else you want to add? I know I said it was going to be a fairly short podcast. I think
Yeah.
we covered everything. Nothing really going on in the NBA. You still had Lonzo Ball brother getting hemmed up with shoplifting charges in China.
Dumbass.
Um,
Dumbass.
don't really want to touch on that. I just hope he don't get convicted because if he get convicted of that, he might end up being over there.
He's a
China,
fucking idiot.
China don't play around with that. So
Nah,
it's
he
a,
got 20 days of house arrest, and then he's gonna agree to never come back to that fucking country again.
well, he's
And
lucky.
that's gonna be it.
Yeah, he's lucky. He's very lucky because in most cases they don't care who you are over there. Like China, Singapore, um, is a couple of few countries over there that you don't want to get caught breaking the law because if you do, yeah, stuff like that can happen. So, like I said, I don't have
You need.
anything else. Anything you want to add?
Nah, just excited about this switch to, going live, and I think the fans, well, not fans, I shouldn't say that, the followers are gonna enjoy it, because they'll be able to interact with us, real time, like I said, and we'll be able to choose topics that you guys send to us and take your feedback as well, real time, and improve our show as a whole.
Absolutely, and I think this is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. I really can't wait to start live. Like I said, it's going to be starting on the 21st of November, and it's going to start between 8 and 8:30. More likely, it's going to be probably 8:30 because of our schedules, and we can be live. And you guys can interact with us, give us your thoughts about sports topics, gaming topics in the chat, and
Mhm.
I do expect a fairly big crowd because of us, promoting it and actually get a lot of feedback where people could just talk to us instead of just listen to us.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I know that's one of the detriments to this type of podcast. Most people don't really listen all the way through, but if they're interacting, they can keep the podcast going as far as what topics they may bring to the table. It might not just be us bringing the topic, so
Mhm.
it's always good. So once again, it's going to be the 21st of November, 8:30. We're going to be here coming live at you with First and Frame Rates live, and we're going to be able to interact with you guys about sports topics, sports gaming, and any other thing you want to talk about, which is appropriate to the podcast. So
Mhm.
I'm all for that, and I don't have anything else. I think at the end of the day, just guys, just be mellow, keep everything on the positive level, keep it gaming,
Mhm.
talk about your sports, and just keep it positive.
And
And
don't get caught up in that. Don't get caught up in Twitter jail for calling somebody out on that bullshit either, because that happened to me, and I couldn't post on Twitter because they wanted to have that, selective censorship. But it's cool.
we'll talk about that another day. Hey man, don't press send, man. Don't press send. All right, man. You guys take it easy. Thanks for listening, and see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.